This is the Young Entrepreneurs Show with JC.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our show sponsors who are making this all possible, the Young Entrepreneurs Show with JC. I want to give a shout out to Curtin University and the Melker Foundation, who have partnered together to increase entrepreneurial education amongst young West Aussies. And by doing so, Curtin aims to diversify and expand the future workforce, leading to future economic growth and development. So join the vibrant and inclusive entrepreneurship community at Curtin. Search Curtin Entrepreneurs and come along for the ride. Thank you very much, Curtin University and the Melker Foundation. Lucas and Breanna, welcome back to the Young Entrepreneurs Show with JC.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad to be to be back after a year?
A year. You were my first guest, and this is it's a full comeback moment for me because we're doing it in person as well. Last time we did the interview online, and we're going to talk about what's happened in the last year. But where's everything at right now? How are we feeling? I mean, we were talking offline. There's a buzz happening in the room at the moment, and you got Mum joining us on the show today too. Hey, Mum. But tell us, how's things going?
Things have been going pretty well. We've just been, scaling the business, been working super hard on Glossy Boys, and overall just having lots of fun. Mum and I have just been working on it so hard, and Glossy Boys is becoming something really, really big.
I'm so glad you said fun there again, because last year at an event that we were at, you mentioned that to the young crowd. You're like, if you're building a business, don't forget to have fun. And I think that's the most important thing about anyone listening and building a business as a young person is you're still young. You're allowed to have fun, right?
You should.
Yeah, fun, getting in trouble, all the stuff that...
You're not going to keep doing it.
Correct, right? So I'm glad that you said you're still having fun because I think that's so important that we don't lose that element. So going well. So sales, how's sales going? And are you still obviously the same product ranges you've had before? Is there anything new? Tell us.
Well, thing is, I'll say what's changed since last time we were here. About $500,000, I would say. Stop
the truck. That is awesome.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's a sizable amount of money.
Yeah. And from last year, we've been selling, obviously on rotation, different colors, but it's always been the nail polish, and we've just been marketing more differently, changing some aspects of how I work and how I function to create, this business and to further scale it. Like so much cool stuff.
And is this like your customers now global?
Yeah, we're selling in 4 or 5 countries now.
4 markets, that's right.
Yeah, 4 markets.
Soon to be 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what we've been doing, since we were selling in Australia, and I think from, I would say last year around August, we started selling in the United States.
What's that been like?
Oh, okay.
Because that's a different market in itself. Yeah. It's a beast.
We were selling in just Australia, and then we went to, Canada and New Zealand, which were small markets, but, it was a step, I guess.
Yep.
But when we got to the United States market, it started going off. About a 200% increase.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
It's been so big.
Why? Why is it though?
The way that we approached the US market, I think, has made all the difference. Yeah. So that is about entrepreneurship and innovation and basically their ecosystem. Yep. We were very aware of a graveyard of brands that had gone into the US and swaggered in thinking that they were going to do well. You actually you were the first person to ever platform Lucas, and this was way before Shark Tank. This was way before everything. But what you did do is put him also in front of people like Minister Stephen Dawson and incredible entrepreneurs in rooms that are so unbelievably powerful. And what that did was actually introduce us to Jitsi and some of the grants that are available. Right. And we took an approach of research and development. So do you want to talk a little bit about the grant and the Innovation Booster Grant and what we did with it?
That Innovation Booster Grant. So we use that $50,000 to work on our basically just being in that market, in the United States market. So that's been, getting ads on Meta and just getting to that market. And that has boosted our sales and our growth and our just like a whole basically, scale and capture of that market, because the United States, there's a lot of people and it's very, very diverse and it's very, very unique and it's very, very much our market. And it's sort of hard starting this just in Australia, but Australia is still our top, I'd say, seller. But in just the 8 months, do you know how many sales we've done in just that 8 months from the United States?
So we've done over 950 orders in less than 8 months. And that's going to cap out at about 200,000 in sales in less than 8 months. So it's incredible.
Yeah.
The other thing was that grant allowed us to research and test if our messaging would actually translate in the US, because there are some pretty diverse people around there. Hit miss, absolutely. A/B testing.
Yeah, well, yeah. Can you? Look, I know of the grant, but for those that are listening, that want to tap into the USA, but anyway, just to grow their business, can you walk us through what was that process like? Was it quite simple? And what do you need to prepare to be successful in getting something like a booster grant?
The process was actually really simple. I was really impressed. Yeah. I expected a big, laborious document. There was 12 questions, and they were 300 words each. The idea is to keep Western Australian money in West Australia and West Australia founders in Western Australia. So, if we were looking, when you scale, you do need to invest. So we knew that we had to get some kind of injection to keep growing at the rate that we wanted to. And we had two choices. We could, which most people have, or a few choices. One of them was to get more investment, which meant diluting the share that we have right now that is 80% West Australian owned. And then, of course, we've got 20% with our three amazing investors. Who are they?
Davey,
shout
Kat, and Davey, Kat, and Jane from
Shark Tank. Yeah, because we talked about it a little bit on the show last time, but they've just on that piece, they've been really supportive and
incredible.
Yeah, incredible to part of the story.
But we wanted to keep. We wanted to keep the equity in the company going.
Of course.
So, and that grant allowed us to do that. It also gave us the confidence that we would be able to execute that money and make it work for us, so that we weren't just going in and entering a market without any kind of knowledge of that market, testing if they were a good fit. It gave us enormous confidence.
And Davey knows a lot about e-commerce. That's his whole specialty, especially having that sort of knowledge and that sort of background. Also he's done a million more businesses than we have. Yeah. So he's been really, really helpful just getting into those markets and getting into those, just really capturing that online market. It's been so great.
That's been really good to hear. So well done on that, by the way.
Thank you.
That's phenomenal.
Thanks.
Phenomenal.
And we've got some return on investment on that grant. What's the percentage? Do you remember?
I remember the percentage. From that $50,000, we've got, I think, 194% return.
Mm-hmm. So every dollar of that grant, we got 194% return on every single
case study. For our government, for Western Australia, for anyone that wants to look into this. Because this is a really good example, right, of tapping into, like you said before, as young entrepreneurs, as entrepreneurs in general, we want to keep our equity, right? And we don't want to be raising money or getting money in externally from investors to, again, experiment or test. That's not a good use of money.
No.
But a grant is a perfect way. And I guess that's why it's been set up that way too, is to allow businesses to be able to dip their toes in the water. Because now you can go then to investors if you want to tap them on the shoulder for more money. You can, because you've done the experiment, you've done the validation, and now you can put more money into the fuel into the fire.
And ultimately, it's always going to return, because it means that with that investment from the government and springboarding into a new market, we're always going to get more return on that equity as well. So
it's good for
when
everybody.
we go to VC capital, raises, then the dollar is much more valuable.
We've done. And you've also proven ROI. You've done that already. It's a proven, like, if I dump more money into this, it's going to get X or so forth. Lucas, I want to change gears a little bit.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Business aside, I want to talk about what's been your personal growth over the last year since we've chatted. What's it been like? You're still 15, but about to turn 16.
Yeah, in about 2 months.
In about 2 months. But what's been the personal growth over the year?
Well, I would say the personal growth is because I've changed so much in my life to fit Glossy Boys and to fit my business, and really just to fit my passions. Well, I have switched schools.
Yes. Tell me about that. We are going to talk a bit about school and education, but tell us about that. Where are you at now? Right now.
So right now I'm at the studio school. It's in Fremantle. Yep. I'm in year 11, and to be honest, I've made so many great connections, so many great friends. I've met so many great people, and especially, like, I know it's business aside, but in that sort of environment, I have so many like-minded people around me to where they're thinking the same way that I do. They can help me with what I'm doing. They support me. And I have so many great friends that, help me out with Glossy Boys. They do all the cool, one of my friends, she does cool nail art.
Helps you out.
Yeah, everyone's just so helpful.
This is really important, because finding your tribe,
community
is really important, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that you've landed at
I finally
SS.
founded the place where I've found my community, the people who I want to be around.
Yep.
And I know it's, I went there last year in year 10, but I'm really easing into it. And obviously because of education, with, ATAR and stuff like that, everything still works. Everything's all balanced. And I have that time where I can work on my business, work on education, and, just have that sort of business and just friends. It's great.
See, I love that. And I also know a bit about your journey getting to this point at TSS. So this is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you found your place, but it hasn't been easy.
Not at all.
To get to this point. And as well, I'd love having Breanna, your mum, on the show, because you've been part of that journey. Can you tell us a bit more about what's that been like, trying to find the right environment or school for to be able to have Lucas reach his, potential, so to speak, in entrepreneurship? What's that been like?
You know what? If you told me 4 years ago where we'd be sitting right now, I wouldn't have believed you. No way. Right. I think the first part was the realization of how little schooling has changed since the Industrial Revolution. We're literally we still have the same processes and the same major subjects as
getting a history lesson.
Yeah, maths, English,
from hundreds of years ago. We have not progressed, which is just mad. Not only that, but as a parent, you think that you know what's going on at school. You think that you know what the kids are learning. You've got ideas. You've got a bit of homework. You're involved. But I was shocked to find that the very expensive school that Lucas was attending didn't have commerce as any part of the curriculum. And then when it was offered, it wasn't until year 11, and then it wasn't anything more than an elective. And this, we had this incredible young man sitting there that was 12 years old and said to me, you were young, you were definitely, incredible, that came in one day and said, hey, I'd like to buy some nail polish. And I said, no problem. We'll go down to Priceline, didn't really think about it very much. And then had an experience that made him feel incredibly uncomfortable, come home and say, Mum, I want to fix this. And, you know, I got some pieces of paper out and we sort of went, okay, well, maybe we do it this way. And he said, no, I really want to fix it. I was like, okay. We pulled the laptop towards us and we got moving. And then we took that to the school. This was actually just after you'd gone viral the first time, I believe, which actually was on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, people, even when you're young, shout out.
Use it.
You've got to use it.
Yeah, LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Yeah. But as a parent, going back to the question, as a parent, it is really, really important to realise that we have not progressed in our education. I've got some ways and means where parents can get involved and can change that that journey. But it was really, really disheartening. It was quite scary. Obviously, we wanted to make sure that we didn't take all the stability out from under Lucas, which I feel like we really did actually. For a good year, it was very unstable because he was in year 9, which is actually not a year that many schools can cater to. Thank God the Idea Academy.
Yeah, shout out to Nick and Beck. Yeah,
out to them. They were incredible. So not only did they flex the system and get him in, but they also helped him with his Shark Tank pitch. They filmed his pitch video. They helped him learn about, you know, capitalization rates and VC capital and how to raise and all sorts of things. They were incredible. Nick's son actually helped us. He was actually the videographer for our submission. So we didn't want to take the rug out from under him, but we absolutely did for a year. And then Malka came in and, All Saints College and the studio school. And then, you know, his education became this place where he could be who he wanted to be. He was treated like an adult in a way that was supported and structured, and that he still had access to ATAR and teachers and English and math and science and all the things that you do still need as foundational subjects. But he was encouraged to do his project and to follow his purpose and to do what they call that ikigai process. Yeah. And all of a sudden, a kid that had gone to a very regimented school system that was told to stay in the lines actually was referred to as a product of the school. Literally a product.
Literally a product.
Literally
they were building me to be what they wanted me to be, not to be an individual who could have fun being themselves and use this education to do great things in the world.
Problem solve.
Yeah,
exactly.
They didn't allow me to problem solve. They just told me, like, fix this problem, not really problem solving, not finding new ways to solve something.
Do as we say, not
stay in the lines and do that.
Yeah, so, you know, going from that to an unstable year just because so much happened that year. We were in, all across Australia all through the year. You were presenting at schools. We had Shark Tank. We had podcasts, TV spots. It was just a huge, huge year. And then we were growing the business too, from 4 colours to 20, from 1 market to 4, so quickly. And then we had a space at a school where Lucas could not only get the structure, but would come home more motivated to do what he wanted because he had friends that were doing the same thing in a very different way, very individual projects, but they were motivated and they came and they motivated him even more. It was amazing.
Yeah. This was only 4 years ago. Just to put things in perspective here, for those that are listening, or even less,
it was like 3
years.
So we're talking about, our high school system, so recent. Why is it? Why is it, though, that we haven't embraced enterprising entrepreneurship? We're an enterprising state. We were just talking about offline about, where resources stayed. Why is it, do you think, then, that schools haven't embraced it, just generally?
Do you know what? I don't know if I could go into why it is, but what I can do is say what you can do. I was listening to an incredible entrepreneur that, exceptionally wealthy and very successful. But he was saying, and this is an American guy, he was saying that the difference between a good school and a great school is the parents. So the parents getting involved, the parents talking to the teachers,
Being more active.
the parents creating a committee, the parents championing. There's always going to be one teacher that really wants to do something like entrepreneurship. You put some resources behind that one teacher and watch them fly. I understand you were talking about Rebecca Modd on one of your podcasts before. What an example. Some programs that are in some of the schools around the state at the moment are incredible, like the I3 program at St. Mary's.
Yeah, Michelle,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are some amazing programs out there, but as a parent, you need to lean in and get involved because that's what's going to make all the difference.
I love that. And it's so simple, though, because we keep forgetting that as a student and as a parent, we're the customers of the school, aren't we?
Absolutely.
I know.
They're custodians.
They're here to serve us.
100%.
And I think we forget that.
We're a little bit the customers and we're a little bit the custodians, right? So if you want to create, and how many times can you say that you've created a legacy? Imagine having a conversation with one teacher that creates one program that changes the trajectory of that one school, not just for your child, but for thousands.
I love that. And then you go one student, and that goes into a 10, 100, and goes on because you inspire more to keep going. But I love that. And I think, like I said, we want to support those champions in the schools to be able to do that. And as parents, I always felt that, I'm a parent of a 7-year-old, and we're very active in primary school.
Yeah.
Getting involved with things. But what happens in high school is, you feel that there's a kind of a step back. I don't know, my son, my daughter has kind of gone into, high school now, and we take a little bit of a back step. So I think you're right. I think
those are the years when you need to lean forward. Yeah, because
I figured that out.
Yeah.
I figured out that so much with just trying to especially with schoolwork.
Yeah.
I was like, high school, I'm going to be more independent. I was like, oh yeah, I can do all this. And then I see
I need
my
help.
grades, I think I need some help.
Yep.
And I feel like, especially with high school, and especially for what I'm doing, and I'd say that people around my school and how school is going to be moving, how we want school to be moving forward in the future, is having those people involved, especially the people who are paying the school.
Yep.
I feel like having those parents involved and really knowing, how their child learns, how their child acts in school, how they, establish themselves in the school and how they learn all this stuff and how, just how they do it. It's really, really important. And it's changed how, because I think recently I was trying to work on my English assessment and I was just like, I don't know how to do this. I need help, but I don't want to ask for help. And then once you actually have this is also not just in school. But this is also in business. Realizing the people around you and their skills, it is so important. I can say from my English assessment, and I can say from Glossy Boys, from my English assessment, I had my sister. She studies English in uni. And for Glossy Boys, what have you done? What have you done? All the education that you've done in uni and all the stuff, there's so many smart people around me. And I feel like what people really need to understand is that if you start talking to people and if you start asking for help, and this is coming from me who never really asked for help until I did, there's so much value and so much important stuff that you can get out of it in your schooling, in your social, relationships, but even in business. There's so much stuff like asking for help, getting to know people like you. There's so many cool stuff that happens.
Well, let's talk about that because there's a lot of people listening that are, like I said, probably doing it themselves, working on an idea or building business. You've had some incredible support. Mm-hmm. Obviously, your mum Breanna has been through that from the very start, but you've really embraced our ecosystem. Can you give some tips and advice? Because I think you've done, like I said, a stellar job. LinkedIn, the showcase, networking, connecting, asking, which you said it's a big thing, having the courage to ask.
Yeah,
Can you tell our listeners, like, how do you actually make the most of these opportunities as a young entrepreneur?
Well, once you realize, especially because like I never really had the courage to ask for help, but when I first, which is the whole reason why I'm here today, why I started Glossy Boys, is because I saw something that I found a problem, and I couldn't sit down and not do anything about it, like, because I realized other people have this problem, I have this problem. Not only do I want to fix it for myself, when it's a business, I can create real change in the world. So why shouldn't you ask for help? Why shouldn't you talk to all these people? Because, obviously the worst they can say is no. And then I feel like, because especially also being open to stuff. If you're open, if you're starting something new, and if you're open to recommendations, at least give them a try. Because I feel like, because especially I was pretty stubborn, at Christchurch. Or at my old school, because I liked it.
Yeah.
Because I liked the people that I had there, I guess. Well, the thing is, I didn't know what I could get. But I liked how I had it. I liked, I guess, the structure and what I was doing. It's just I didn't like how I couldn't be myself and how I couldn't work on my business. But then when my parents came around and like, hey, there's this school which I think would be really, really beneficial to you, which you would be able to work on your business. You won't have any school camps. You would actually be able to work on your business and make friends and have like-minded people there, which was Idea Academy. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I had an amazing experience. Yeah. And then I wanted something. Then I wanted more. Yeah. I wanted something where I could have more structure and where I could, really find the people I wanted to be with and really find how I wanted to learn and be around. And then that was the studio school. And thing is, even at I remember on my taster day, going into the studio school, I was like, oh yes, this is cool. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to go here anyway. I don't like this. I don't want to do it. I just, But then when I actually did it, it was one of the greatest decisions, which I was like, you know what? Sure, why not? Because a lot of these big decisions, which I had the help of my parents and I had the help of people around me. I have people recommending me stuff like all around this community. I've had people recommending me all this stuff and helping me because there was one little problem that I wanted to fix. So I asked for help, and then look at where it's got me. It's got me a 6-figure business. It's gotten me great friends and also made me a part of a great community. And I've met so many cool people and I've done so many cool things.
That is just...
Dude, I think you're about to cry.
Yeah. That's like, mate, because I've got a 7-year-old, right? We're going through this process and even trying to find the right school and so forth. I bet our listeners are wondering, okay, what is this studio school?
That's right.
Okay, seems to be our benchmark being set here. Can you walk us through what is a day like at the studio school?
A day like in the studio school. Well, I want to talk a lot about this because I need some more friends. I want more people to come over. So the studio school. So obviously, it's like normal school. Monday to Friday.
Structure. So there's still structure.
There's still structure. So Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 3:30. There's structure, and then there's really the essential stuff that you're learning. English, math. History and like science.
So the core curriculum type stuff still there.
Core curriculum stuff. Okay. Stuff that you actually need. No like other stuff, because with this, it gives you what you need, essentially. It hands you it and it's giving you what you need. Right. But thing is, it gives you the time to work on what you're passionate about. So in my day, I have, let's say I might have, at least let's say in year 10, I had all my subjects that I'll be doing, and then I would have a space plotted out for project work. And my project work could be anything. It could be like if I didn't have Glossy Boys, if I didn't have my business, I could be working on, I don't know, I could be recording something for my guitar. Like I could be, trying to start a band. I could be, filming like a video or something. I could be working on a podcast. Like one of my friends did stuff like that. So with this project work that you are allowed at the studio school, you're able to do all these cool things. And with the help of the teachers, and also, I would also say the parents, and I would say also because of how individual the kids are there and how responsible and mature they are, you're able to work on your things, and you are, most importantly, supported and influenced into these things. You're allowed to do these things. You're encouraged to do these things. You're encouraged to be yourself and to do something unique. I've never met so unique people in my life. Like, I've just found the people who I wanted to click with in here, and they've helped me so much. And thing is, not just in like, I guess, a social sort of way, but also in that business sort of way. So going to school, waking up, and I'm happy. And I'm like happy to go here. I have my structure. I have the stuff that
you still need structure.
Yeah, you do.
You definitely do need structure. And that's what I struggled with, is not having that. But then I had that structure, I had that work, and thing is how the whole school is structured, revolving around that project sort of ideas. You have a whole bunch of events that go on after school or go on during school. Like the other day, there was a project showcase where all the kids in the whole school set up their projects and showed what they did and what they were doing. And you got to see all the cool stuff people were doing, because the teachers, students, parents, grandparents, siblings, everyone walked into it. It's a pretty small school, to be honest, but everyone got in there, like hundreds of kids there, all walked in, and you got to see what everyone were doing, and you got to see what they were passionate about. I've never found a place where people were so passionate about stuff. Like at my old school, I was like, you could be walking in and like, oh, what are you passionate about? I'm like, homework. You're not passionate about anything. But thing is, when you're at the studio school, or whenever you're at these types of schools, at least the one that I'm at, you are allowed to be passionate. You are encouraged to be passionate. And I guess the people that they're passionate about this stuff. And you can go to school and you can work on what you need to work on. You can work on what you want to work on, and you get that help and you're encouraged to do it. And now being in year 11, I have, I'd say, 2 ATAR tasks, 2 sort of general stuff. And then I also have a Cert 3 in business, which I'm, planning to move to Cert 4 because I want to do more of that business stuff. I do ATAR BME and ATAR English.
Business BME?
Business Management Enterprise.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm able to work on what I want to work on, what I need to work on, but I'm also able to do stuff like this. I'm encouraged to do stuff like this. If if I'm not going to be able to come in on like, let's say Monday mornings because I need to work on something, they'll schedule out a timetable for me. They will work around my schedule so they can educate me, and so I can have, a stable learning environment, so I can also work on whatever my passion is, which for me is Glossy Boys. And I'm able to do that while having fun.
Wow. You're just short of being an ambassador for the studio school, and they should write you a big check.
Yeah, right.
Marketing. But I love what you just shared then. And not only ambassador for the school, I think it's more broader than that. I think people listening will be like, no, he's an ambassador for all young people that are going, and parents
That's
too.
right.
That have gone through the different challenges to try and find a home. Really.
For a new system.
For a new system.
For a
I think
system
you're
for
championing
today.
that. I think that's what you're championing. I know Studio School, and shout out, they do a great job down there. And you are advocate and ambassador for them, but you really are championing for every person that's going through the challenge right now, because you've landed here.
That's
and
right.
it hasn't been easy to get here. So you're hopefully inspiring all those that are out there now, saying, no, this does exist.
Absolutely.
This does exist. This world does exist, you know.
Absolutely there.
And Breanna, I want to talk about, you summed it up very well, Lucas, but Breanna, what's it been like for you as a parent, and what can you also encourage other parents who may be listening that are probably in it right now, trying to find a place for their young child to land at so they can speak like an ambassador?
That's right.
For this.
Well, it's I find it very interesting that you were saying that and it's very true, that when your child goes to high school, you do take a step back. I would absolutely encourage you to actually take a step forward. And what I mean by that, you got to pick and choose your times, because ultimately you are dealing with a teen or a preteen, and they have their own unique challenges. So pick your times, be in the car when both of you are staring forward in some other way, but they can't escape. So it's quite a closed environment. Maybe let them put their music on or something that expresses them, and start asking questions. Start asking, like, what do you really love at school? Like, what outside of school, is there a YouTuber, or is there a TikTok that like really got you, are you into fashion? Are you into art? Tell me about your music tastes. Is there something you've seen out in the world that you like are really drawn to? And that those conversations can spark some incredible changes, not only in your child's life, but also in yours. Like I literally am a development manager in property. And these days I spend a lot of my time, I call it playing with colour, playing with colour and nail polish, which I was told off for at school, by the way.
Irony.
Yeah, that's right. And so I wasn't allowed to have nail polish, and I wasn't allowed to make connections and speak to people at school. So I was really discouraged from the two things that I actually do most of my day these days.
Yeah, that's your passion.
That's my passion.
But no, you can't do that. Push down.
Absolutely no, not.
That's how the times have changed, because you were pushed down and you couldn't find a place. And then now, which what people need now is to be encouraged that you can do stuff like that. That's
right. And find who you are. I mean, I have 3 children. Lucas is actually my youngest. And my other 2 are at UWA. One is in fine arts, anthropology and English. And the other one is in psychology and within a short pathway to Juris Doctor, so going to be a lawyer. So very different journeys, but really important. So ask the questions. Pick the time. You got to pick the time right. You can't, sit them down and make them feel like they're in trouble. But, an environment like a car is always good where everyone's distracted. And then, start that conversation, ask the questions, be curious.
I love that. And also to give a shout out to your dad, Ben, as well.
Oh, absolutely.
To meet Ben, been on that journey too.
The silent. Because
I know, Breanna, you've always been with Lucas to events and stuff, and Ben has been at the showcase helping set up, and so shout out to Ben as well.
Organizing everything. He is like my whole room is now because I have my bed, I have all the skateboards on the wall, and I have because I pick, pack, and post. Practically from my bedroom.
Yeah.
So I have stock.
His bedroom.
I have stock lining the walls, and he goes there every single day, organizing it, labeling everything, counting pens, putting stickers on pens. He's just been so helpful and also so encouraging to this, because I know I have my mum, which works so much on all this stuff, and it's been so helpful. But
he's the pillar.
Because of asking for help, and because I have all these amazing people around me, they've been encouraging me to do all this stuff, and they've been helping me. Like, it's been so amazing, and to have those types of people.
If you think about somebody, like Ben, Lucas's dad, I'm going to make 2 points on that. Yeah, firstly, if you think about $500,000 worth of sales, that is over 40,000 nail polish pens.
How many pens has my dad counted?
That takes a lot of organization. Doesn't that put it into perspective? So that's an enormous amount of work. And that cannot come from one person. That's an entire family working together, an entire ecosystem. The second point is one of the most frequent comments that we get when we the most frequent comment we get is incredible encouragement online. It is amazing. But one of the big comments we get is, where is his dad? And often we will, talk about some of the posts. Literally Ben in his nail polish in the Glossy Boys t-shirt, picking and packing.
Taking all the photos. He's
taking all the photos.
All the product photos he's taken because he used to be a photographer. And also, he's done so much, that you haven't seen. And he's been really, so incredibly helpful. Not just, working out on Glossy Boys and stuff like that, but also, being a dad.
Being a dad.
Yeah.
It's been so good because, especially with all this change and stuff like that, not only have I had my mum, but I also had my dad to help with this, help ease myself into this, help, discover new things, help just change as well. And there's so many great things that he's done, cook me pasta. His pasta is amazing. My friends come over and I'm like, guys, you have to have my dad's pasta. And I get it out and I serve everyone and they're all amazed by it. I'm super lucky to have all these people around me helping me and serving me good pasta. But with going back to the whole thing, asking for help, finding a problem and wanting to work on it and having that courage, but also having that determination to ask for help.
Yeah, that's been very recurring during this chat.
It has. Also, one of the key, we had to, as co-founders, we kind of job share, so we have to communicate quite a lot. Which can be a challenge because ultimately we are still mother and son, so we have to separate things.
That's the relation,
Yeah, we've all got, whatever's going on in our own heads as well. But one of the concepts that we came up with really early was know, like, and trust. So, Lucas, do you want to talk a little bit about the journey on LinkedIn and social platforms and making connections with people like Christian Hull and Abby from Rainbow Shoelace Project, and how that's changed, what you did and what know, like, and trust means.
Yeah, using know, like, and trust, not just in, getting customers or let's say employees, but also just people helping you out. If you can create a platform, especially on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is great for that, to make a platform where you can share who you are, what you do, and how you can help as well, you need to make sure that people can know, who you are, what you do, like who you are and what you do, and trust who you are and what you do. And Mum and I, and the both of us, also separately, we've been able to create a person and a platform and a business that people can know, like, and trust. That's how we've had those customers. That's how we've had those people working for us. That's how we have made those connections. People like you, people even like Christian Hull, who first shouted us out. He knew, and trusted us, and he was able to just jumpstart this business and create something so magnificent because as long as you're trustworthy and as long as you show exactly who you are and what you do, people will know, like, and trust you, and people will feed off your energy and people will help you.
What a simple little motto, though.
Yeah.
Know, like, and trust. And there's three things. Apparently people can remember three things at any given time.
Yep. Amen. Yeah. Maybe one or two.
Maybe one or two as you get older.
No, like, and trust. That's what
you can trust. And I love
know, like, and trust.
I love that. Look, we're going to wrap it up, but we've got a final question for each of you.
All right.
Now, I'll start with Breanna, Mum. Did you ever think you were going to be here in life as a parent? Because,
yeah,
I always wonder, because I'm a parent now, and I wonder, listening to you both, I got a 7-year-old about to embark on his journey. Who knows what he's going to do?
Yeah,
be business, whatever. But I will play an integral role to that.
Yeah, you absolutely.
Did you ever think you were going to be at this point in life supported, like being a co-founder with your son?
You know what? Of course not. But gosh, am I thrilled that I am. Yeah. I'm so unbelievably, I couldn't imagine a better co-founder and a better person to go on a journey like this with.
Same.
It's just been phenomenal. So absolutely not. However, and this is a big one. So for anyone that's listening to this that might be in a bit of a career midpoint that is going, I was really good at this technical skill that I have, and now I am being promoted and now I'm managing people. And maybe you're struggling with that a bit because the thing that you love to be, which was that technical expert, has gone away and now you're a manager. There is a point in your career, I think, where you start to question those things, and there might be a little inflection point, like you get promoted and things change. For me, that was entrepreneurship. I followed my parents, like a lot of people do, in their industry. I saw how they behaved, and I wanted to do what they did because it seemed logical. And it's taken me quite a long time to realize that entrepreneurship was in me from the start, and just, sort of lean towards it as opposed to keep pushing it down. So this has given me an incredible opportunity to do that.
But to do it with your son.
And to do it with,
and you're like
lift somebody else up, which is my favorite thing to do. And it's literally my son. So, I mean, you couldn't get more motivation than that, right? So it's incredible. But we all learn from our parents in so many different ways. I tell you, that strategy about being involved in the school, I was thinking about it this morning, and it's literally, my parents were massively involved in our primary school. They put air conditions in, they had a whole fete, they were really amazing, and they created a legacy in my school. Where do you think I learnt it? It's the same thing. It's just the next iteration. If you want innovation in your school, go champion a teacher, go get involved, start a committee, be part of something. That's how you make change. It's a lot of it is learning from your parents when you are a parent, and then when you're giving it to the next generation, we hope.
I love that. Well summed up, by the way.
Thank you.
Lucas, for you, since the last year, I want you to share with our listeners what would you pass on now, having learned what you've learned in the 12 months since coming on the last show. What's some things you can pass on? You've given a lot throughout the show, but what, in summary, would you encourage young entrepreneurs to take from today?
In the last 12 months since I've done this, so much has changed. So much has grown, so much has been done. And I've grown so much as a person in just 12 months. Not only in height, maybe a little bit. I am wearing
your hair's longer.
My hair's longer.
Yeah, for those that are watching,
kind of platform boots.
His hair's grown longer.
Yeah, got a haircut.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so much has changed, and I feel like for people watching this now, you got to be ready and also be willing for change. Change for me has been so monumental. I feel like back then, I'd say, because last year I just got into this school, I reckon about that time, I didn't like change. I didn't want to change. I just wanted it to be perfect. Even if it wasn't perfect, I would make it perfect. But really, it wasn't. So what you got to be used to and what you got to accept is change. Because with the people around you, if you know, like, and trust them, they will offer you change, and you just have to accept it. My mum and my dad, they've offered me change, and I accepted it, and look where it's gotten me today. It's gotten me not only to have fun, but also to have structure, and also a business, a successful business where I can be myself, where I can, do what I want to do, and where I can just enjoy it.
I love that. Hey, Breanna and Lucas, thanks for coming on the show again.
Thanks so much for having me.
I feel this is so special for me because, you were the first episode, the first guest for this show. And this show's also come a long way in
absolutely
12 months. And then we're up to episode 44 now. Apparently, wow. Ben is saying that once you get past, that mark, you can keep, going.
You're like, you've made it.
Quitting.
No quitting.
Made it, but you definitely passed
episode 100, 200.
Yeah,
That's right.
Joe Rogan status in thousands, But anyway, but thanks very much for coming on the show. It was really good to chat. There's so much that's happened.
There is.
And I would love to, let's come back in a year's time again.
Absolutely.
Because I just feel that, entrepreneurship is a journey.
Absolutely. And I think a message to your listeners, if you're listening to this podcast, you're already winning.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well said. Thank you very much for that plug too. Because we need to get, encourage our ecosystem, and for those that are on the fence, maybe thinking about an idea.
That's right.
You're listening to.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Get on, have the courage to ask for help.
Definitely.
Attend those events like the showcases.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get in it.
And just do it. Just do it. Just get in there and do it. So anyway, all the best. I want to hear what's happening next 12 months.
Next 12 months.
It's going to be past past the $1 million. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
business. Yeah, definitely for sure. Yep. Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.